Pacing is recognizing that we actually have a fixed amount of energy. Another way of thinking about this is a spoon theory, which is about we have a certain number of spoons at our disposal. If you have a chronic condition, it's going to impact the amount of energy or spoons you have available to you. And so we want to be more mindful about how you're spending that energy or your spoons. One of the things that people often get into is this boom or bust cycle, which is that when people have a good day, they very naturally and understandably think, well, who knows when I'm going to have another good day? I better do everything possible. And they actually overdo it because they're having a good day and they do too many things. And so then they pay for it by having some bad days. And over time, you end up on this boom or bust cycle where you're constantly being monitoring how your pain is to decide what you can do that day. This is a very normal and understandable way of responding to pain. It's very natural. However, it isn't very good for function over time because we end up feeling like our whole lives are controlled by pain. Pacing, on the other hand, is about keeping the same amount of activity regardless of whether it's a good day or a bad day. And so this means about having a certain amount of activity that you do on a bad day, you kind of push yourself. And on a good day, it means that you hold back. It means that you try to do one load of laundry every day instead of seven loads on the one day when you feel good. Over time, this actually helps us feel more empowered because instead of worrying about how our pain is doing and deciding what activities we can do, we actually know how much activity we're going to do. There's a baseline that we know we can get done. And so we're less at the mercy of our pain or chronic condition in terms of determining what we can get done that day. And so overall, it actually helps functioning. It helps reliability. We know that we can get certain things done and how much energy we might have available rather than being on this boom or bust cycle where we're never sure whether we can do things or not. And overall, this makes us feel much more empowered and much more capable of doing things because we're deciding the level of activity instead of our pain or chronic disease. So keeping in mind your energy level and your spoons and balancing that out over the days so that you're not doing too much on a good day and making sure you're pushing yourself a bit on a bad day. But again, the hardest part about pacing is holding back on a good day. The last thing we want to think about in terms of pacing is to use your battery wisely. If you have a certain amount of battery or spoons, it's a fixed amount. So then you want to think about how are you spending your energy? Is it on the things that matter most? Is it on the things that only you can do versus the things that anyone could do? You want to think about using that battery on the things that are most important to you. If you have a chronic disease or you have chronic pain, you have fewer battery, you have less spoons to use. And so we have to be more mindful about how you're spending it and spending it on the things that are most important and most meaningful. Some people will say, I have small children or other demands and I can't pace myself. That totally makes sense. That's a real thing if you have young kids or other demands that might impact how your activity is during the day. And so please see our video on Build a Village as to how you can deal with other demands that prevent you from being able to pace.